Hello. Welcome to a raw video from the Player's Aid. We're in the middle of playing The Enemy is at the Gates.
And when we say in the middle, what we really mean is 1 2-hour turn completed.
Yes.
In about 4 hours.
We played 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. of August 1st, 1985. It took us about 3.5, 4 hours to do.
After 2 hours of setup. We got to point that out.
It was easily an hour and a half of setup.
And if I could read my text, someone told me I was half set up yesterday, which was a total ball-faced lie.
It was more like, it's half set up. Think about it that way.
The maps were set up.
The maps and the aids, and I had all the victory points marked down.
But yeah, we're like almost 6 hours in, and we literally just finished 2 hours of real game time.
Yes.
7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on August the 1st.
Yeah, this is one of those games where maybe if you know... So, okay, first off, Compass Games, Adam Starkweather, CSS company scale system.
Which we love. We have played
Yes.
it a couple of times, other systems, or other games in the system, and they're very interesting.
Yeah. So
and what we're doing here, very interesting.
And also, very different.
Yes.
The other one that we played was Saipan, which was, I think, the first one in the CSS,
Yes,
I believe.
it was.
It's World War II. The terrain is gross. We were doing nighttime banzai charges with illumination. So much of what we have here is very familiar with the barrage markers and the DG and the activation formation. So I remember a lot of that, but it's been a long time.
Yeah.
But this is 1985, Cold War gone hot, and this is the battle for Berlin. And
Move that jet down here so we...
oh yeah, so
That's the narrative
yes,
that was told.
so it's
The Americans were completely and utterly asleep.
yeah, this is a surprise attack, I think. But this one is one that's it's the same system, but it's feeling a little bit different from the World War II one. Like it's
Yeah.
you know, we got these big old massive mobile artillery pieces
Yep.
and all sorts of different units going on, and this is a big city combat. A lot of it is anyway. So that's very different to what we had experienced before as well. So that's been fun to kind of play around with too.
Your ranges here, I'm just reading them, it's kind of funny. 30, right? These are 37s, 37 hexes.
Which pretty much stretches across the entirety of one map
Yes.
sheet.
My guy here is a 42. I have a couple. It's just interesting.
Yeah, like
A lot of
you
interesting
have
stuff here.
pretty modern stuff going on, and you know, this is not a game for the faint of heart, right?
No, it's very involved.
It's complex, so it's slow going for us, kind of jumping back into it. But all that being said, it's not as complex, I don't think, as some of the other games we've played, especially recently.
It's very doable.
Yeah, it's just it's long, big.
Yeah.
We've got a big 2-mapper out. The game has 4 and a bit maps if you want to do the whole thing, but it is so each day has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 turns and 2 night turns, and there's 4 days if you want to do the whole thing. You might be able to get the time if you're experienced players, and maybe if you play the whole game and you've got 4 people and you kind of like doing a little bit here and there and speeding it up. This is not a short game if you're doing a whole campaign. This is you set it up at a convention, you play the whole time, and you might get halfway through it or be done with it. So just know that that's what going into it. Now, there's a lot of scenarios. There's a lot of small scenarios. 1 map is single map. This is a 2-mapper. It's a big one. But we could leave this set up and play it.
Which I think is actually our plan, right? Didn't we kind of talk about?
Yeah.
We'll play 2. Well, now we were being overly optimistic. We're now going to play maybe 2 turns today.
Yeah.
And then come back in a week and maybe play another 2 or 3 turns.
And just to kind of really get into it. But that's the kind of investment we're getting out of it. But the company scale system is one where each of your units on the board is a company specifically. And so you have these... the way that it is that you have division activations, like divisional formations and then brigades. those are the chits because it's a chip pull game.
Yep.
But the units on the board are these companies, and so you get like it's regular infantry, motorized or mechanized, or you have tanks and things like that.
Engineers.
But you'll have like mortars.
Yes.
And that is like its own thing.
Bazookas, machine guns.
Yeah, like engineers,
This is
flamethrowers.
an MG team right here.
There's units that have like wire-guided anti-tank missiles. I don't
Yep.
think.
Is that what these are?
This guy right here he's an engineer with a D. No. Oh, he might be one.
Yeah, I think that's the wire-guided symbol.
It's the little K tells you that is one of the very specific.
Yeah, here's another guy.
I can't remember the word for it.
It would be nice if they had all this described.
The K, it's the Conkers. It's a large ballistic style, but it's effectively a Tau.
Yeah.
But they,
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
yeah. So
That's one of the things I enjoy about this system is the trying to get your support weapons up to be in range to offer support or affect combat, and it's interesting.
well, and this game also has like a level of detail where it's like your guys can like round up and roll a die to try and requisition like buses and cars off the street to transport your crappy leg units if they have to race across Berlin. Mm-hmm. And especially in the bigger scenarios, you might need to do that kind of stuff, which is pretty neat.
And I could see the uses we were just talking about. When, under what circumstances am I going to ever use that? Let's assume these West German police here really nutted up and decided they were going to really knock out the NKVD units here, right? Which, it's not totally out of question, but it would take a lot. If we could really stop them, man, I could run these guys up here and try to get the airport back.
Yeah, and you're going to use the additional transport on units that don't activate very often.
Yep.
So they can't just like use their leg movement to cross town. Because you spend one activation to stick them on a bus, and the bus has 24 movement points. And then you use a direct command, and then they drive, 24 hexes on the Autobahn, or 25 movement points on the Autobahn is, 72 hexes? Like, you can race them literally across 4 maps.
And this is a big map, right? I mean, if you needed units over here, you could do that.
Yeah, now, obviously, you have to have clear ways to do all that stuff, but, that's the level of detail that you can get into this. There's all sorts of different unit types, and the symbology of the NATO symbols is really rich and complex, and they don't explain that, which is something I hope someone out there has, made a guide for it. Because the way that the CSS works is the numbers are the only thing that's important. Yeah. This cool symbol means something, but there's not these are what all the cool symbols are.
Yeah.
It's just dude, look at the numbers. The numbers are what matter.
The K, right?
The K tells you there's a few different rules for that.
Yeah.
But it's it's a +4, it's a black background, and it doesn't have a movement value.
Yeah.
They almost who cares what it is? I kind of care what it is. I like to know because I like to learn. But
it's part of the learning process. But
it's also they try to not burden the rules, which is kind of cool. So this is the 2.0 version of the rules, and there is a lot of explanations and stuff in it because this is not a small game. The series rules about 40 odd pages. And it's another thing that would have made it a bit longer.
Yeah.
And that's the most minor of quibbles, right? But it's interesting. We were talking, because I don't think we play a lot of these World War III, Cold War gone hot style
In fact,
games.
I think this is really only the second one we've ever really played.
Yeah.
We were racking our brain. The other one we've played is World at War.
Yeah, we've played some World at War.
Storming
we
the
played
Gap
MBT.
MBT. Yeah. Let's just move on. Let's just move on.
But it's part of the reason that we don't play a lot of those is because, I don't know about you, I never found them that interesting to me.
I find them interesting, but I find other wars more interesting, like Vietnam or World War II.
Yeah, like actual wars that happened, right?
This is the hypothetical.
Hypotheticals are less interesting to me, but when this came out, and it was CSS, which we love, and it was Berlin specifically. I lived in Berlin for about 6 months, and so we're playing on maps where, like, I lived. Like, I lived on Karl Marx Straße. That's this big old road up here. Like, Sonnenallee, I went to, like, a kebab shop on that place. Like, it's awesome. Like, I've been to churches here, here, and here. I've been to, like, half these places. And so, like, this airport, Tempelhof, there was a campaign whilst I lived there to try to save it. It's closed down now. But they were like, it's historic, and, like, this is why. It was so important, and they were, like, fighting over it. So I was really excited to play this, and I'm having a really good time with it.
Yeah.
It's just fun to, like, play around and, like,
Well, it was cool too. You had your old kind of street atlas.
so like I have back in the mid 2000s when we actually, like, used that. Like, this was the walking map, and I've got, like, hey,
That's awesome.
these are all the places that I would, like, remember.
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is what's here. It's kind of all beaten to hell, but this is like
cool.
It matches. So much of it still matches, like all the important stuff does anyway, which is really fun to just kind of play around in this space. And I've also I think it's interesting seeing unconventional forces where, like...
Well, yeah, I have West German police that are, when you flip them to their mobile side, they're basically on horseback.
Yeah, some of them are horse-mounted.
Yeah.
Some of them have, like, they're like riot police.
Yeah.
Some of them are regular. And, like, those are random. You try
very
kind of randomly
interesting, yeah.
what you get.
Is this a riot? This is a riot police guy.
And
He's holding off the pinkies.
Yeah.
The pinkos.
Those pinko long hairs.
And these guys are riot because they've got the...
So these
Anyway.
ones have these have a
riot
better
headgear.
combat value because they're geared up.
Okay.
But that's,
I gotta flip
you
this
know,
guy.
that was also something that drew me to this game of, like, oh, we're going to do, like, street to street fighting,
Yeah.
which is always
Yeah.
interesting, but also it's not military forces necessarily. Now, there are a lot of military forces, but, like, okay, what are the local SWAT teams and riot police doing to try to stem the tide of what is the East German army? Like, what does that look like?
Well, they're getting beat up here.
Well, they need the help of the Americans.
Yeah, it's like, come on, Americans, please get up here. Although I did attack you and I rolled well.
Yeah.
And I did
they
DD
held their
you,
own a
and
little
I think
bit.
I suppressed you as well, which was really good. These guys are heroes.
Yeah.
Now they'll be dead soon, so they'll.
It's the soldiers and postmen's uniform
Yeah.
of Berlin, right?
Yeah. There's a lot to like here. I'm very much enjoying what we are doing. The other thing about this system that I think is really cool, there are so many different status markers that all relate specifically to different things. Whether it's assault, you know, some of the artillery can cause fires.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And those fires, there are fire markers, and you're going to put them in a spot where you shot the artillery. Not in the woods, because those don't catch on fire, evidently. They're wet, you said.
Yeah, they're wet, and you don't cause forest fires. Not in northern Germany, anyway.
What? Well, in Germany, they do have, like, wood guys, right, that are cleaning the forests up so they don't have a lot of fire.
But what happens in this
damage.
game is the system is like, if you roll a 0 or 1 on flammable terrain, you have to roll again, and if you roll a 0 or 1, it sets on fire.
Yeah.
But
That's not going to happen that often.
anytime you're attacking a city hex and you roll a 0, direct or indirect, automatically on fire. You
Got
don't
it.
roll. And that's because the electricity is still on. Like,
Yeah.
there's a point at which
It might go
they
off.
turn the power plants off, and at nighttime you can't see anything.
Yeah.
And you're going to start fewer fires.
But that's interesting, right? There's rubble markers, which kind of is the same concept. Cities will start to turn into rubble, which will offer more or less
you start
cover.
destroying stuff, making all these fires. It creates refugee markers.
Yep.
And those guys will have to move, and the NATO forces have to deal with that.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of cool stuff in this that we hadn't seen before that is, I think, unique to something like a city battle in 85.
Well, the other thing, and we have not experienced these yet because you've not liberated any of them, but these are the undesirable markers. And some of them are like special heroes that you can add to your forces, giving better combat. Some are like nothing.
Yeah, some of them are blank. So some of them, it's like, there's like guys that the Stasi are trying to, like, get in and arrest. Some of them are like communist leaders.
Yep.
So you're trying to rescue them, and you get points for rescuing
Are these
them.
your Stasi guys? The pink guy?
No, those are KGB.
What are the Stasi guys?
The Stasi guys are in black.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But
Anyway, there's this level of granularity that's just so interesting
yeah.
that a lot of times in bigger operational or strategic games just kind of gets eliminated from the...
They don't put it in. Or they put like one of those things
Right.
in. But here they kind of put it all in.
But that's what I like about the company scale system. To me, it feels decidedly tactical.
Oh, very, yes.
In that respect. You know, the different modifiers are very interesting as well. There's assaults, there's direct fire, indirect fire. I don't know. Just really, there's a lot of cool, what I would call granularity. It's fun. I'm enjoying this significantly.
I'm having a grand old time, and I'm glad that we've been doing it. And, you know, there's a lot of CSS games out there now.
There are.
There's at least 3 of those island campaign ones. There's this one. They did... What was the big one that you got? It was a...
I'm not even remembering now.
It was I think it was... Was it Ardennes? It's like a big 4 or 5 mapper. Montélimar.
Montélimar, yes. It's not Ardennes,
It's
it
France,
is southern France.
Southern France.
But we've never done anything with that one.
No, but they have like...
I want to.
There's a few in this 1985 series.
I think this is the first one, and they've got other ones that are planned.
And I think they've got an Anzio one on the docket as well.
Okay.
Which is cool. But like, they've done a lot. Yeah, but wasn't there like a Novgorod one or something like that?
Yes.
I think.
CSS Novgorod,
I
yep.
think that's what it was called.
Yep.
Did they do a...
Little...
Yeah, it was...
something.
Little Novosibirsk or something?
Yeah, it's like the Black Sea stuff.
But
there's a bunch of them.
They got a bunch of these, and they are not for the faint of heart, but they are also really fun. And...
Well, I feel like this is a game system, and we say this often, you're going to get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah.
The more you get into it, the more you understand how it connects, the mechanics with the real-world situation. You know, there's like breach markers here. You've breached...
Literally breached like the
Berlin Wall.
Berlin Wall and
in
the
like,
boundaries.
how many spots? Like 5?
Yeah, set me up with 5.
And you had to kind of think, I don't know if maybe in the future you get more, I'm not sure.
Well, I've got engineers who can do other breaches and things like that.
But, you know, that's a cool narrative, right? They did such a surprise attack that they did some tow missiles and
kind of
just blew holes
and then you just start rolling tanks through.
And the Americans were asleep. Literally in this turn, the Americans were the last chit drawn.
Which I love, right?
It's hilarious.
That's the joy of a chip pull game. And when we talk about, chip pull does great narrative, this is a prime example of that.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't have planned it almost more narrative based.
Yep.
Right? We're doing all this stuff, moving on and rolling on in, and the Americans were caught so off guard.
Yep.
Who cares how likely or unlikely that would have been? It
happened
in the game,
Yep.
and it was like we were doing all this stuff, and the Americans literally the last shit, and they like finally deploy, and then it's like everyone's back in the cup, and like we're gonna go again, and we're gonna see how well they're able to have reacted. And
if I could draw them on the first draw, that would be amazing, right?
And that would be a great
it
story,
would be a great
right?
narrative.
And
so
how will that unfold? I don't know. That's what makes chip pull so good.
Well, and it's interesting. We always do this. We kind of line up the chits.
Oh yeah.
And you can kind of look. Okay, how many Russian formations went? I say Russian. Warsaw Pact. Like 1, 2, 3, 3 before my police decided. Oh, we better get in on this. And then I think you did.
Then I did.
Then we got a win.
And then it was kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah.
But like
just interesting.
Yeah, it was very, very cool to kind of see what the flow of the game was. And the way that it's set up, it's like, here's my army base with like literally 27 guys in it. Like,
yeah, we had stacks this tall.
And it's like,
to start.
The rules are like, just keep them off map. You don't go.
Yeah.
But like, you know, you deploy them reactionarily, and I really like that.
Yeah.
I think it's fun to like do, because a lot of games would, it's like, okay, let's set it up with all my guys, especially World War II games do that, right? Hey, we're launching Barbarossa. Okay, well, we know where everyone was, so here's all the guys. In something like this, it's like, okay, I finally pulled my chit to deploy him. Uh-oh. Like, I've got, there's guys over here and over there. Okay, well, let's go run them all out. And like, the way that the front lines and the battle lines look is very interesting and would be very different had the chits come out in a different way.
Yep.
And I think that's really neat. Where we're fighting is on whoever's terms kind of pulled first. And
By the way, I didn't pull back because I want to see how these assaults go.
yeah,
I want to see it.
And
right?
we'll do some assaults. It'll be
We're
great.
going to do it. The other thing I think is very interesting is there's direct command points. Is that what they're called?
Yes.
So that is to be used on their second kind of activation.
Mostly, yeah.
Mostly. But it's like you can pay to activate a single unit, and you only have anywhere from 4 to 12 of those points, depending on what you rolled. But that was fun too, trying to think, okay, how do I use these best to get my guys into position?
Yeah, to like get a double, like to move and do
Get
an
a double
attack,
activation, yep.
Or to move and then hopefully I pull their formation shit so they can move again and almost double move.
I like that a lot.
But
There's
but
fatigue
yeah.
points too, but we haven't gotten into that.
Well, the fatigue's not in this scenario.
Oh, it's another
Fatigue's
scenario.
for the campaign where it's 4 days and it's that third and fourth day. Like,
Got it.
There's also like ammo rationing and fuel rationing for the NATO forces, where like they blew it all in the first 2 days,
Sure.
and you're like, okay,
What are we going to do? Well, then we had the sabotage stuff that we don't have any sabotage units yet.
No, yeah, and like those
That was cool.
Those guys are like doing little covert missions
Yeah.
to free guys who have been
Captured.
or to destroy supply lines and things like that, which is fun stuff.
There's a lot to like here. I've enjoyed this a lot.
Yeah,
Beautiful board too, by the way.
yeah, they did a good job with the.
I wonder if this is Antonio Pinoir
It is, yes.
Pena. Okay. Or
Pinar.
Pinar. There you go.
Antonio Pinar. Is
He
he,
did
from
the-
South Africa?
You know what? I don't remember now.
Okay. That is a very South African name.
Okay, I don't remember now. But he did the board for CSS Saipan, and I want to say he did most of the other ones too.
Okay. Well, he is.
But anyway, he's pretty good.
Yeah, and very consistent as well.
Yep.
I also like. I think I like a system where it has the dots on
Oh,
them.
it's so useful.
Because then there's no
Confusion.
mistaken.
Oh, like this is some town, but a majority of the nope. If you're in there, it's a town.
And it means you also don't get
Boom.
the jagged rivers.
Sure. Well, that was one. Yeah, that was one thing. Also, we started. Some of my units started right in the middle of the river,
There's some errata for this game.
and then there's even a gray thing there that like denotes that you can't move.
You literally like this is a water hex.
So literally, my guys were stuck there. But we decided that was an error,
Yeah, there's some mistakes in the setup,
which was
which is not great.
annoying.
And that might be just for this particular scenario. Indeed, I know it is. Because
You
I
looked
looked
up
up the
the
errata and
errata.
it's like, hey, scenario 7.
Which is
to be the one that I
Funny
picked,
that we
of
chose
course.
this one.
So there's some setup peculiarities in some of it, so just make sure.
Be aware.
If something doesn't really make sense. There's an errata sheet online. Go look at that.
Yeah.
But I think once we kind of got it set up and we're getting into it, now it's kind of like, yep, moving
Yeah.
and fighting. You know, am I in column or am I in deployed? Making sure you're not getting yourself isolated and surrounded so that when you route, you don't die. That's not good. Don't do that.
The routing thing is very interesting too.
Yeah, and I also really like that this is not a game of step losses. It's not
Yeah.
a game of strength points.
Yep.
It is, your units can be brittle.
Yep.
Like any unit can be eliminated if they're attacked correctly.
Well, and if you roll well enough.
and
right.
so but
Like I
it's-
blew your guy away over here that I was like, okay, I'm going to try to do that. So I rolled a 4 and that's what I needed to eliminate you.
Yes.
And that was cool. But there are no traditional step losses,
Yeah.
right? It's just you put markers on units,
But the markers are statuses that affect their attack and
right,
movement.
and defense. But they're either going to get off the board through routing or being eliminated.
Yeah.
There's no step losses, which
And,
is
like,
interesting.
You can spend some of I think you can spend dispatch points to like,
bring 'em back.
but you have so few of those.
Yeah, I have like 2 or 3. And I might bring the,
I think it's dispatch
The one
points. It
tank
might
back.
be command points, but because I think dispatch points you use to purchase additional formations that you like that don't
Oh,
go
yeah,
into.
yeah,
You
that's
buy
what it
them into
was.
the cup.
Yep.
But so it might be command points to buy your routed units back on.
Yeah.
It's something like that. But that's
so the other thing is, did you notice which of my formations didn't move? Because their chits were not involved.
oh yeah.
My yellow guys never got to activate.
Well, they could have. It was. They only have direct commands.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So that chit was not in the cup because of the random draw. And I don't know, does that happen every turn?
I can't remember if that's just turn one. I
Okay.
had forgotten about that. Yeah, so which ones didn't go?
It was the yellow police, West German police.
Okay, was it just them?
Yep.
Dang. So
That
you
was
had
the
everyone
only
else in.
Well, no, I didn't. That's
No,
what I.
yeah, you had
but
a-
others I was able to activate because of the direct.
Yes.
What do you
so
call
these guys and these guys
And I very easily could have screwed something up.
and one of the British ones as well.
Yeah. The blue, which the blue guys never moved. They were stuck where they were stuck, like right here and here or wherever it was. Is it here?
Yeah, the British blue guys. Oh, the British blue guys are up there. They're
Yeah,
the
they're
ones that
over
were in
here.
the ocean. So they would have had another activation. And then two formations, the yellow and the tan from the Berlin Brigade from the US, they
Would have
would
been
have had
activated
additional
again.
activations.
So that was interesting. I
Yeah,
thought
that was fun.
an interesting concept.
And that was just kind of some fog of war of like, and I
Well,
think it might be just turn one of like,
Got
yeah,
it.
they were super
surprise
surprised.
attack. It's not surprising.
That's funny. It ended up as pretty average. Of
Yeah.
3 of them made it and 3
Yeah.
of them didn't.
I don't know. I enjoyed it, and I want to keep playing and having a
Yeah.
good time.
This is an
That's what's important.
extremely rich and deep game. You're going to commit some time to this, that's for sure. But I'm having a good time doing it.
Yep.
And I hope that.
Get your tweezers.
Oh, okay. Yes. Let's
We're
talk
starting
about
to
that
get
real quick.
We're starting to get very congested here.
Yeah, you'll have stacking's like 3 guys. You kind of want to try to keep it to 3. The more guys you have, the more DG'd you get.
Yep.
And the more DG'd you get, the worse your guys are. And so there's no point in having them stacked together.
Yeah.
And so, but you have 3 guys. You might have a barrage. You might have a DG. You might have a suppressed and pinned. You
And
might
a
also have like a
leader.
hero leader. Or,
Yep.
So you can end up with 5, 6
Yeah.
guys pretty quickly. And
And these are pretty congested. These are congested.
yeah, you'll have congested areas where it's like, get your tweezers out. It's
Yep.
not worth it.
Yep.
That was something that we experienced in Saipan as well. So just know that this is a tweezers
Yeah.
game.
You got to get your tweezers. Yeah. But it's fun. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, it's a big one, that's for sure. So yes, thanks for sticking with us. You'll probably see more of this on the channel at some
Yeah.
point as well. So I've been Alexander from PlayerZate.com.
And I'm Grant.